Hey guys, it's Gavin here from NerdNerd&Noob, and this week on NerdNerd&Noob I'm going to be talking about highly underrated and underloved comic book movies. You know, those comic book movies that people just didn't see or just don't know about, and hopefully I'm going to give you a bunch of movies that you can go out and watch and enjoy rather than going to see an Avengers or a Captain America. So kicking off the list, we've got the 2012 remake of Dredd. Now this is sort of a remake of the Sylvester Stallone one, but it's also got really good source material in the Dredd comic book series. It's starred by Carl Urban of the Lord of the Rings franchise and Lena Headey of the massive Game of Thrones franchise. And just, I can't believe it, but nobody saw this movie. It went for a $45 million budget and only ended up making $41 million in the box office. I mean, it's just astounding. I only found this film on Netflix this year, and I sat down just expecting, a cheap comic book flick, and what I got was an actually really interesting, focused movie. Not trying to have a huge, overwhelming story, just a really good, well-written, focused story. So that is definitely one. It's on Netflix. Go watch it.
Law is not the law. I'm the law.
Okay, second we have The Losers from 2010. Now this is one that I hadn't heard about at all until recently. It's based off the Vertigo comics of the same name, and if you don't know about Vertigo, Vertigo was the DC branch that did the Hellblazer series, so if you're into that, you might be into this. It's got a host of names that you have seen before in comic book movies. It's got Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who obviously we saw as the comedian in Watchmen. It's got Chris Evans, who, need I say more, and it's got Zoe Saldana, who was in recently Guardians of the Galaxy. It's also got Idris Elba with an American accent, who has also been in comic book movies as used Heimdall in Thor, i.e. the Rainbow Road Man. It's a really cool, fun action flick with cool directing. It's a comic book movie, so it's ridiculous. I mean, the plot's, not fantastic, but it's something that you can just sit back and watch and enjoy, and if you watch it for anything, you just have to go see it for Chris Evans, because Chris Evans, as we're used to seeing him as this big leading man who punches people to death and kicks the shit out of people, he goes from that to a little hacker guy, and understandably he gets his gun out sometimes, he does do some shooting, but most of the time he's just making quips and stuff, and
that's not foreboding at all.
He's really funny in this film. I mean, it was only a small budget film, and it went relatively unnoticed. It came out the same team as that A-Team reboot. God. But, it's not a bad film, so there's another one for you to go see. So, next on my list is a really divided one. It's Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim, which was directed by the fantastic Edgar Wright, who did the Cornetto trilogy. So Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and At World's End. This came out in 2010, and just wow, this is the definitive comic book movie. It's a comic book movie that has elements of comic books actually in the movie, like panels and, stupid words like 60s Batmans like slap and pow. It's a fun movie. It's really silly. Michael Cera is great as an awkward Scott Pilgrim. Funny enough, Chris Evans is also in this movie. I promise it's not a theme, but he just keeps showing up. It's very true to the comic, and I don't really know what else to say. It's an Edgar Wright movie, just go watch it. That's it for my underrated comic book movies. This has been Gavin for NerdNerd&Noob. Hopefully there'll be a new video up next week. If not, check out the rest of the videos on the channel. Hit like, hit subscribe, share it all around, and thanks for listening.